Yeah, so if our ECS is a heart and all the cannabinoids are different, all the receptors are, so to speak, different strings on the harp, would you say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like that makes sense.
And so the overall ECS or endocannabinoid system would be the harp itself.
Yeah.
It would be the harp itself. And then all of the strings would kind of be how they intertwine with all the different systems in the body.
Yeah.
So you've got your lymphatic system, you've got your circulatory system, you've got your endocrine, your immune system, your nervous system, your digestive system. And so those are all the strings of the harp. And so that's the endocannabinoid system. And all of those strings need plucked, if you will. THC will just pluck one string all the time. CBD all the time will just pluck one string. That's why Epidiolex is 98-97% CBD, so it's technically an isolate. And so that's why the dosing requirements for that is much higher than, say, a broad spectrum or full spectrum product would be. I believe the dosing is anywhere from 100 milligrams per serving up to potentially 1,000 milligrams per serving. So isolate requires a lot more to treat conditions than, say, a full spectrum.
Right.
Because with the full spectrum extract and the broad spectrum extract, you're getting all of the symphony or orchestra. You're getting all of the players in there, to where they're gonna pluck on every single guitar string to bring harmonious balance to the endocannabinoid system. And it's gonna provide a harmonious sound, if you will, and what we would call that is tone, right? And there's such a thing called endocannabinoid tone, or ECS tone, where everybody can get their bloods measured and see how much anandamide and 2-AG is in the system. Anandamide being our body's THC, 2-AG be the compound that is, I don't want to say like CBD, but it activates the CB2 receptor. And so anandamide activates CB1 found in the brain and the central nervous system, whereas CB2 more activates, it's found in the immune system, in the body, in the skin, in the connective tissue, and the organs, where CB1 is brain and central nervous system. So anandamide primarily functions on CB1 receptors. That's why you feel calm, cool, collected, and chill, relaxed, de-stressed, helps with sleep, things like that. That's all done through the CB1 receptor, and that's neurological receptor. Versus if you have autoimmune disorder or you have something going on in your gut, you need to take a soft gel to go down in the gut, because it's going to burst in the small intestine where 80% of our immune function happens and cause an immune system response through the CB2 receptor. And so that is the way to deal with any type of inflammation or anything like that. And so the best way to do it is to do both. You take the tinctures that go under the tongue to activate CB1, just like the kid having a seizure.
Yeah.
Under the tongue, 30 seconds later, they're out of a seizure in a lot of cases. That's going to keep the brain functioning, and if you're feeling down or you're feeling stressed or something, in the moment you can take the tincture and boom, it kind of fixes that, or has the potential to. Whereas the CB2 receptor, it's more of a long-term systemic approach to health through the endocannabinoid system, because CB1 is a come and go situation, right? Mental stuff is a come and go. You don't know when you're going to freak out. You don't know when you're going to calm down. So if you want to try to have control over that and mitigate the effects of that, you can use a CBD as a spot treatment in the moment, and it will calm you down in the same way that it can a seizure. Now, whether or not you feel calm from it is determined by multiple things, but in most cases, if you hit the right dose, which is usually not a high dose, you're going to feel some effects of calming, relaxing, very instant. Of course, you got to hold it under your tongue for 30 seconds at least, up to a minute or more, if you want it to really go in there. So CB2 receptors are not getting hit by the oils under your tongue. They're not going there first anyway.
Yeah.
It's all about where you drive in the cannabinoid first, and then it's going to metabolize there on those sites due to FAH, the FAAH, I'm sure you learned about in school. And that's the metabolism of the cannabinoid on the receptor. So you know how when you smoke, let's say, and the buzz wears off in 2 hours?
Yeah.
That's because FAH metabolized it off the receptor, and now the receptor doesn't have the THC binding to it anymore. It's been metabolized away. Now it's waiting for a new compound. So CBD blocks FAH, actually, which is another good reason. People say, oh, well, CBD blocks my high and all this negative talk about. Well, it doesn't. It actually prolongs your high because it stops FAH production. It slows down the metabolism of the cannabinoid on the receptor. So technically, taking CBD with your THC will prolong your psychoactive experience. Technically. Now, it will also balance it out and make it not so side effecty. And a lot of people get side effects from THC. They get rapid heart rate, they get paranoia, they get anxiety, they get voices in their head that are louder than they normally are. There's a lot of things that can lead to what they would like to clinically call psychosis, but it's about balance and moderation, not over excess and stimulation. We've got to understand that everything in moderation is okay, but no thing in excess is okay. Nothing in excess is okay. Not even working out, not even eating right, not even being so square that you won't even cross a sidewalk. I'm not telling you to break the law, but sometimes, sometimes we've got to live a little bit, And the endocannabinoid system causes us to relax in our own skin and be okay with whatever it is, and be able to passively go, and just breathe out the stress and anxiety of the world and everything going on in it, out there, and also in here, because those are two worlds. The out there world, what you would call what's going on out here, is different than what's going on in here, in your inner world, the way you perceive and the voices you listen to in your mind, because we all do. But what CBD does for a lot of people is it quiets down that inner voice, that inner chatter of doubt, because it somehow takes away the fear, which is a symptom of a central nervous system issue. Being in fight or flight is because of fear. True? So what happens when you're in fight or flight? Your adrenals start releasing adrenaline and cortisol, and your stress levels go sky high. So how is it that cannabinoids are known to reduce cortisol levels, and also because of the biomechanism of reducing stress? Because everything is a cascading event. No matter what symptom you want to call it, it's just a scale of exposure. Because a problem starts out as a small problem, and then it leads to a bigger problem, and that's when you notice that it's a problem. And thank God for cancer because of that. Because if it didn't ball up and have it all in one little ball, it'd be throughout your whole body and you'd be dead in 2 days. So a tumor, a lump of something is a blessing, and you should look at it that way, because as soon as you don't, you're dead. Everything is a gift, even a tumor. And that mental attitude is a cause of what they would call high endocannabinoid tone. Like you're a kid. What are kids? High, healthy, hungry, and happy, right? All the H's. And as we age, we turn into grumpy, grouchy, grimy, and gritty. Ooh, all the G's. And, we don't have to stay there. Once we wake up, so to speak, and realize that that's where we're at, and our health is resulting in the anger we hold within, and a lot of our health challenges come from the way we think and perceive life. And so if we're perceiving life in a fear state, we're going to be in a fight or flight state, which is going to lead to adrenal fatigue, which leads to kidney failure, which leads to diagnosis. It's all a leading factor. So we've got to go backwards. We got to stop being led by fear and start being led by love, so to speak, if you want to go like that with it. Because the feeling of love and the state of mind in your inward world is what's more important than what's going on in the outside world, see? But the human body is set up for this because that's why we have the central nervous system, and that's why we have all these different mechanisms in which we kind of like split the two off and know that we're okay inwardly, right?
Yeah.
No matter what happens to you in the real world, it's really not happening to the real you.
Right.
Because the real you is just a spirit that is just living in that house you call a body for a temporary period of time.
Oh, yeah.
And as soon as your spirit, which animates the blood, which animates the flesh, leaves you, what happens to your blood? It necroses immediately, and you die immediately and start rotting. So isn't it interesting that they say that life is found in the blood, the spirit is in the blood. If you're just a spirit, as you say, then the spirit is found in the blood, right? Because as soon as you die, your spirit leaves the body, they say, right? Okay, well, as soon as the spirit leaves the body, the blood dies. So then wouldn't the spirit be in the blood?
That would make sense.
Ooh, okay, well it kind of does.
Yeah.
And so, your spirit is who the real you is. The real you, the 5-year-old you, the pre-trauma you,
Yeah.
the pre-judger, the pre-interpreter. You were just the observer.
Right.
When you were 5, you wasn't an interpreter of life because you think you know it all, so you're going to interpret everything and judge everything and everyone, including yourself,
Yeah.
right? That's hell, what some people call hell. The 5-year-old, the happy, hungry, high endocannabinoid tone child is in a state of peace and love, correct?
Right.
Why? Because they're not judging, they're pre-trauma.
Right.
See? So what cannabis allows us to do is, even though we've all been traumatized and defeated, so to speak, spiritually in our inward life, cannabis comes in and makes us go, I'm okay with it. It's okay. It didn't really happen to the real me.
Yeah.
The real me is still okay. That might have happened to my flesh 20 years ago, but I'm still alive. My flesh has rebuilt itself. The scars are healed physically. Why am I holding on to spiritual scars? What the?
Yeah.
And you start doing a lot of what does about your life, because cannabis causes what they call introspect. It makes you look inwardly.
Right.
You don't rarely smoke weed and look at extrospect stuff too much. You look at it, but then you immediately take it inward and dissect it, right?
Right.
It's called introspect. Cannabis, and that's what high is. High causes you to see things from a different perspective, from a different perspective.
Right.
But when you're high all the time, that perspective stays the same, so you never get the balance of the two to change the game.
Gotcha.
If you want to change the game, you got to have a different perspective. And if you're high all the time and you never take tolerance breaks, then you're always going to have the same perspective that you call high, but it's only high when you're actually high.
Right.
Once you're high, once you're already in the air balloon, you don't go around saying I'm high, I'm high, I'm high. That's just where you are
Yeah.
for the whole ride.
Yeah.
Usually it's like 2 hours you're up there. So you're going to come back down though, and you're going to have a different grounded perspective, and then it causes you to want to go get in the hot air balloon 3 weeks later because it was kind of fun. You got to see the trees and things from a broad view.
Right.
That's the way cannabis is meant to be used in my perspective.
Right.
Like we should all potentially take days in between using psychoactive cannabis,
Yeah.
so that our endocannabinoid system can reset, so to speak, a little bit. More cannabinoid receptors pop back out on the sites, and we have more antennas to connect the signal next time, right?
Yeah.
And that's going to cause that balloon, that hot air balloon, to keep going higher and higher and higher, because we're all trying to achieve a heightened awareness, if you will. And you notice that introspect causes the awareness.
Right.
Because once you have the introspect, you're now aware of this wisdom that you gained from that rabbit hole you went down last night. But you know something that you didn't know yesterday, right?
Right.
And that's what we seek, is wisdom. We're all wisdom seekers. And a lot of times, the cannabis causes you to be in a state of mind that you can receive the wisdom because you have less ego. And that's what the paranoia thing is attached to, is the ego. The reason people get paranoid when they smoke for the first time, you've heard of this, right? Or the first couple times people smoke, they say, man, I don't know if I like this because I get paranoid.
Yeah.
I get feeling awkward and uneasy within. Okay, so we're back to introspect and perspect.
Right.
And so what happens is people who haven't ever looked at themselves before inwardly and known that that's the real them, not their identity that they've been chosen, it's frightening for a lot of people. Because they realize, oh my gosh, I really am a real person. I really am standing in this body right now on this earth. Oh my gosh. Cars are out there, birds are chirping. Like, what the? This is crazy. And you start having a lightweight panic attack because you realize that you're real. You realize that reality is what we perceive. And now your perception has shifted. And you see things from a high perspective, and you realize there's something bigger, okay? And that freaks a lot of people out. And so that's where the paranoid anxiety comes from. And they have a panic attack, and they never want to go back and get high again because they're scared of what they saw within themselves, okay? Now you've got your potheads that actually love the introspect and love to seek that which is within, and love to diagnose and dissect the mysteries of life and why we act this way, why we think this way, who is that voice in our head, why do we agree with it, why do we think it's us? Because if we're not our thoughts, we're not our feelings, we're not our emotions, and we're not our body, that you feel all that in. You feel all that in the body, but you're not the body, right? You said earlier, as soon as you die, the spirit leaves the body and the body dies.
Yeah.
But you're not dead, you live on.
Yeah.
Okay. So there you go. That's the whole nutshell wrapped up into one. And so the worst thing you can do in life is to forget this, what we're talking about right now. This is the thing it meant when it said the worst thing you do is to forget the truth. And this is the truth right here, is that you are not your body, you are not your thoughts, you're not your feelings you get from the thoughts, and then you're not the emotions that you feel in the body, that you further identify now for the third time that you're that. See how it tricks us?
Yeah.
It's like we identify with the thought, like, ooh, I am sad today. Well, who's I? There is no I. You are not any of the things you could call I.
Yeah.
And so you're none of those things. So we can't forget that. We got to remember to remember our thoughts. A member is a collection of them. And bring them back, bring them back together. We scatter with our thoughts. Thoughts scatter the truth, don't they? And so as soon as you start going into the weeds with that, so to speak, you're lost in the weeds, in the woods. You got to come back to the path of truth so that you can see where to go next, right? And that has to be in a fearless environment inwardly. So if you have the ability to get over when you smoke, if it gives you anxiety and paranoia about yourself and the things that you don't yet understand, but you continue to seek that, then that's okay. You should. If that's the tool that causes you to seek thyself, to gain wisdom and truth, so that you can change and be a better person, then that's the best thing we can do as human beings. It's not your job, it's not how much you made, it's who you were as a person and how you operated inwardly and how you perceived everything. So if we have a bad perception, we got to change the station. It's like a TV in our mind. Everything is like a movie in our minds. And so if the station doesn't look good in there, instead of sitting there focusing on going, oh, I hate the way and all that, you just change the station, right? Yeah. And that's a muscle you got to work. It's called working on yourself. And unless you do it daily, you won't build that muscle. You got to go to the gym and work that muscle out daily. That's where they say die to the flesh daily. Because your flesh, your body, is going to cause you to have them feelings and stuff that make you do things you otherwise would never do. But that wasn't the real you either, so don't judge yourself for it, right? Because as soon as you judge yourself for the thing that you didn't do in the first place, you were led to do it, right? You acted on a thought, feeling, and emotion and did the action. The action is what you're held accountable for. If you go kill somebody, like, you're going to be held for that action. But guess what? There was a thought first that you identified with. Then there was a feeling that you had that you further identified with. And it existed in the body because you felt the gut butterflies about doing it. So you thirdly identified with it, it's you. And went, well, I am all three things, aren't I? Mind, body, and soul. That makes sense to me. Another lie from a thought. And then you fourth bought it. You're hook, line, and sinker at this point. And you are out in the middle, floundering like a fish about to be up on the sea, suffocating for life. You better hope they're a throwback type of people and not just they want to shoot you with a BB gun like a lot of these new age kids want to do to kill things because they're so angry at their parents, you know. They have a lot of anger and hatred already, and it's sad. And so can cannabis be used for some of these things? Potentially, but under extreme observation and starting out with the non-psychoactive cannabinoids first with CBD because it's medically studied and that we can't deny, and we move forward from there. We start with an isolate for a child, and then you move into a broad spectrum if the parents come back and say this is working, it's working great, but we have to blow through this bottle per day to make it work. Then we say, okay, here's the research on other minor cannabinoids being added to it. Go do your research. If you're comfortable with it, add it. Because Charlotte's Web was a broad spectrum extract that they bought at the dispensary called Hippie's Disappointment because it had low THC but high CBD, but it was a flower extract, so it's going to be a full spectrum at that point. And they did an extraction and it worked for Charlotte. So broad spectrum it's not the devil's lettuce either. It's a lesser degree. But that's where we start and work our way forward when helping patients or people figure out their canna journey, because it's going to be different for everybody. But the ECS acts on the mind, body, and soul, you notice now. We now know that the endocannabinoid system not only acts on the mind, but it acts on the body with cancer. You know, it acts on the mind with anti-anxiety. That's well known. CBD also acts on the body. It can be a potential cancer killer or anti-inflammatory, we'll say. That's been proven. And it also can act on our spirit or our soul, if you will, because through the mind and the body following suit and getting calm, you can hear the small voice within that is the real you saying everything's okay. But it's only until you get all that mental chatter and the thoughts and the lies and know who you are and remember the truth at the same time, is when all these things become a concoction, just like a tincture, if you will, to feed to the mind, body, and soul, to create that 3-in-1 union of homeostasis or balance, right? Let's not just homeostatify the body or the mind. Let's do all three. Because when you have two or more, there is three. And when there's three, you have perfection. And so we are mind, body, and soul. And the endocannabinoid system seems to be involved with all three of those entities, if you will. Isn't that also interesting? And yet also mammals in the world. Every mammalian species has the same features, you'll notice. A mind, a body, and a soul. Woo! So how is it that the creatures of the earth also, if they happen to eat cannabis in the wild, will get high? And maybe see the grain that they eat a little different, or see the clouds a little different, because they're going to experience that just like we do. But does it make them feel calm inside? Does it make their stress reduce and their cortisol levels? I would say so, because they give CBD right before they kill cows to try to make that cortisol spike not go and taint the meat. So if they're giving CBD right before death to farm animals, what does that tell you? If they're giving CBD before nail trims at the dog salon, what does that tell you? Okay? It does calm the animals down. So they have a spirit too. So it must interplay with theirs as well. Isn't that interesting? Isn't it? It's the most interesting thing I've ever discovered. And I had to lose my dad and my uncle back to back, and they had to die in front of I had to pull the plug on my dad in ICU with my 13-year-old brother at the time and watch him beep, 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 and die right there on the spot. At 61 years old, and he looked younger than me. Yeah. And then literally a month later, his brother, our Uncle Tim, he was 52. That's like 4 years away from me right now. And he got diagnosed with lung cancer, and the doctor said that the chemo rounds will probably, they said this last chemo round, this pill will probably be the one that does him in, they said. And he did die that night, and I sat at his bedside, watched him, 90 pounds, shriveled up, didn't even look like my Uncle Tim. And he died that night. And I was blown away, because back then I wasn't a crusader for health, I wasn't none of that type of stuff. I ate burgers just like everybody else at Wendy's because it's the buy one, get one junior bacon cheese. I thought that was a great deal, and that was what I should put in my body because it was cheap. I knew not of these health things. But right after they died and I found out about Charlotte's Web, and then I found out about the endocannabinoid system, turns out it's involved in all the physiology, so by default you have to learn about the whole body to learn about the endocannabinoid system. So look at that. How does the ECS turn around and teach somebody physiology? All you have to do is be interested in cannabis, and now all of a sudden you're a doctor. Now all of a sudden you know stuff, and you can be like, wait a minute, this is where we need to go with this, not there. And that can empower people to make changes in their lives and heal themselves through this endogenous system with this exogenous plant. Exogenous from outside, endogenous from inside. In the same way that we have our perspectives in the world that we see. There's an endo, inward, and there's an exo, outward. There's an outside plant that we bring into our endo receptors that fulfill those receptors, but they flood the system, see? They flood it. Because you couldn't run on a treadmill while pregnant, while drinking avocado oil, while singing, praying, and meditating all at the same time to make your body produce enough to get you actually high, other than what they would call runner's high. But you take a little tiny bit of a plant and it'll flood your whole system and you are like blown away to the moon, CB1 receptor wise. But we really need to focus on taking it in the body and activating CB2 because everybody's just focused on how they feel upstairs. We need to be focused on what's going on in the basement. We need to clear out the basement. We need to clean the basement. We need to get the cobwebs out. We need to open the windows and turn the light on in the darkness, so to speak, so that we can see what we need to clean. And that's what the first step of taking CBD does, is it starts making you feel good, and then you start wondering, what else can I do to help this situation? Because, it's like in your basement, once you start cleaning, you really want to get going. You get the mop bucket out, you get the sweeper out, you get everything out, and you get on a roll. And so once health starts in your life, you want to start fixing everything. And that's how this works, and it all starts with the endocannabinoid tone rising so that you feel younger, healthier, happier, and higher. Not intoxicated, but high on life because of your perspective that you have due to low cortisol levels and low stress. Because the endocannabinoid system is our ultimate adaptogenic system that helps us adapt to not only inward stress, but outward stress. See? It's an endo and an exo system. It works both ways. If you want to be lazy and not exercise and drink avocado and sit and pray and meditate and be pregnant, then take a health supplement like CBD, and you're going to balance your endocannabinoid system so that you don't have to. And then when you do get on the treadmill, you're just boosting your endocannabinoid tone, which is overall going to lead to greater health. And so it's all about that goal of marching towards greater health through the decisions and choices that you make every single day. You ever notice when you're super hungry and that causes you to be stressed out, so you'll order the first worst food on DoorDash there is? Because you're stressed out, because you're hungry, and you gotta have it now. But you spend an hour deciding what it is you want, and it's all bad anyway. And then you get it, and you eat it, and you feel like total crap for the rest of the whole day. And you have depression, you have anxiety, because it's all fear-based actions, which have fear-based reactions. So we gotta lose all that and drop it like a hat. And just remember what we know to be true, that nothing's really happening to you. Everything that's happening out there is only for you to think about in there. But do nothing, and that brings us back full circle. I told you in the beginning, the best thing you can do sometimes is to do nothing at all and have a wait and see attitude. Because if I would have knee-jerked and closed this store the second like everyone else did, I wouldn't have had a wait and see attitude. Wait and see, DoorDash just picked us up again today. Wait and see, all the people are coming here now because there's no other stores. Wait and see, we're known as the medical aspect of CBD anyway, not THC to begin with. Wait and see, people are going to realize after going to the dispensary that the dispensaries don't have what we have here, even in the broad spectrum category. Because at the dispensary, it's 90%, 70% now THC. So that's all you get. And that strums one chord, one string on the heart, doesn't it? That is amazing. Well, I'm so glad you came in. This was a great chat.
I did have a question. Those CBD vapes.